Hi, I'm Lou, and today we're going to compare the Predator 224 to the Wildcat 223. First off, we need to level the playing field. I bought this with an electric start because it was only $30 more. Predator doesn't offer an electric start. You can buy an off-brand like this for $70, but it only comes with one charging coil and no fan shroud. I just pulled this starter off the Wildcat, and it's the same thing except it has two charging coils and this modified shroud that has this bump out right here that covers the starter. Since our kill switch was in this part we just removed, I added a new one. You may not care about electric start, but this doesn't even have charging coils for headlights and batteries, whereas this one does. While we're on this area, I do like that this pull start is this way for mini bikes and go-karts, whereas this one is sort of the wrong way. You can unbolt it and turn it facing this way, but then your label is upside down. The EPA requires a tank vent which takes excess gas fumes and runs it down into the intake. The Predator takes this one step further and runs it first down into a carbon sponge which will soak up fumes when the engine is not running and then turn around and dump them back into the intake when it starts. These are only required in the state of California. A lot of people don't realize this, but the fan in there is actually a blower and blows air across these fins underneath these guide plates. The Wildcat air guides are made of plastic instead of metal, but they add one on top here to increase cooling that the Predator doesn't have. The Predator has this module and a float inside that shuts off the engine when the oil gets low, and that's great for industrial applications, but on a mini bike that bounces around a lot, it causes problems, so we're going to remove that. The Predator has 6 side cover bolts, whereas the Wildcat has 7. They added this one down here to better hold that long span that's open over there. Now we'll address the burning question, does that have 224 cc and that only have 223? The Predator bore and stroke are 70 by 58, and the Wildcat is also 70 by 58, so how can they be different? Here's a calculator from spicerparts.com. I put in 70, 58, and the answer is both engines have a displacement of 223.21 cc's. So the Wildcat makers rounded that down using standard rules of math to 223 cc's, and the Predator makers, I'm not sure what they did. Exhausts are a mixed bag of pros and cons. The Predator has a smaller exhaust port, a larger header into the muffler, and a smaller final output with a spark arrestor screen. The Wildcat has a larger exhaust port, a smaller header, and a larger final output with no screen. It also has this extra support which bolts on there. Definitely a stronger cast valve cover on the Wildcat versus sheet metal on the Predator. There's a pretty big difference on the rockers. Predator has these thinner ones that are just rocking on this bolt. The Wildcats are much beefier and they're rocking on a true pivot pin. Underneath the rockers, the Predator has single-piece slip-on retainers which are fine at stock speeds, but if you want to build this engine faster, these can pop off. The Wildcat has automotive-style split-lock retainers that can handle anything you throw at it. I pulled off the carbs and they look identical, but the Wildcat airbox has a much bigger throat. Heads off and side by side, the Predator definitely has a larger intake port. There are some pretty significant differences here in the combustion chambers. The Predator has a non-Hemi head as shown by these flat valves. The Wildcat has a Hemi head with slanted valves. The Predator piston comes all the way to top deck but has a divot here and a larger dome. The Wildcat piston is 1 millimeter below top deck but has no divot and a smaller dome. It's hard to tell without precise measuring tools, but it looks to me like the Wildcat has a slightly smaller combustion area and thus higher compression. You can increase the Predator's compression with a flat top piston and stronger rod for about $100. You can do the same over here with a longer, stronger rod for about $100. You can get a little more compression with thinner gaskets for both. Now we'll look inside. Predator, Wildcat. We'll pull out the cams for comparison. So the big complaint about the Predator 224 is that it has a plastic cam, but it's really only the drive gear and all of this is still metal. Over here, the whole thing's metal. Inside the block, they look almost identical. They have the same part number on the crankshaft. The rod looks about the same. The lifters look the same. They both have a governor. This has a oil sensor that's going to come out and it'll look like that. At first glance, the blocks look nearly identical, but there's an important difference that I've colored in blue. This is called the block or crankcase, and this is called the jug. On stock engines, there's never any problems in this area, but in high compression builds, this jug can actually break away from the block. To protect against that, these support rails are added. The big difference is that the Wildcat has a thick rail on top and a thin rail on the bottom, while the Predator has a thin rail on top and no rail on bottom. Now the fun part, we'll install and race on two identical Trailmasters. This is Eric, and he weighs the same as me with this backpack on. I've got the Wildcat and he's got the Predator, and we're gonna race. So as you can see, the race was basically a dead heat. The Predator and Wildcat are both very good engines. If you need a headlight, charging coil, or electric start, Wildcat is the way to go. If you want something you can buy at a local store, Predator's the way to go. This one has a few better components and would likely hold up better to a strong build. My other videos are over there, and my mini bike Facebook group is down below. Thanks for watching.